Do you see that? Do you see that? Because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let's be real, my G. The mortuary assistant scared the absolute bejeebus out of me. When you think of horror games, your mind tends to turn to zombies or naked cannibal people. And while most horror games do lean into the disgusting, especially with its frequent representations of death and corpses, none really get into it, quite like Darkstone Digital's The Mortuary Assistant, where some have claimed the thought of how easy it would be to create a cheap horror game that takes place fully within one of these natural morbid areas. Darkstone Digital partnered with DreadXP to publish a game that brings some of the most natural jump scares I've experienced in a while. Cause let's be real, for those who've actually played it, know how much of a great game this is. So now, let's go on to the premise. Having completed your degree in mortuary sciences, you, our beautiful protagonist Rebecca, have taken an apprenticeship at Riverfields Mortuary. A career path that's been her end goal, much to the dismay of her caring yet foxy grandmother. However, from day one, the excitement of embalming bodies is quickly offset by the presence of something unusual in her place of work. Her boss, Raymond, is acting weird, and late one night you get a call asking to take care of a few bodies that had just come in as the mortician was feeling under the weather.
I know it's late, but we just got 3 new cadavers, and no one else can make it in right now. I was hoping you could come in and take care of them.
You soon realize that this is your moment to prove you're worthy of becoming your very own mortician. You accept the task and head into the morgue.
Holy that was him. He signed me on. He needs me to come in tonight.
This game does exactly what was expected. You work on preparing bodies in a funeral home. However, while you are here, it seems that something is different. It isn't long into the night shift that you get a call from the mortician and learn the truth. Now, knowing that you aren't able to leave, you must finish the job you came to do and try to survive. The basic premise of the game is to identify which body is currently housing an unwelcome entity. More importantly, which specific demon it is. And then burn the body in the correct manner to cleanse it. Rinse and repeat every single night. Although it does feel like everything is thrown at the player in one go, Rebecca has a trusty clipboard which shows the stages of embalming that need to be completed. It can seem overwhelming as it becomes a chore in itself, just getting to grips with the actual job at hand. To have the sudden manifestation of an eerie presence interrupting your work just adds to it. But it's also where the game's scares come into effect. Wait, I thought I closed this. Now, before we continue, I'm going to talk about the gameplay in the next bit, and if you don't want to listen to that, maybe you can skip over to the critiques. Let's talk about gameplay. Right after the tutorial, they have you do a basic
search for your keys
mission. This gives you a chance, in the safety of your own apartment, to get used to the movement and interaction controls. All of these are pretty straightforward, and they don't really expand much further. So take a moment to figure it all out and explore the tiny apartment before getting started. Once you leave the apartment, there's no going back. At the mortuary, you begin your late night work in a pretty benign way, but it is only the beginning. Here, you put into practice some of the actual steps to embalming the bodies, and get to look around the lab for different items you need, as the arrangement changes depending on how many successes you've gotten before. The coolest and grossest sequences is the actual embalming of the body.
I still can't get over this though.
Also, there's a bit of body diversity in the corpses that you tend to, with a variation of skin tones and body types found on the gurney, which I thought was a nice, thoughtful inclusion to the game. After getting used to the lab and you start to understand the checklist off of your eyeball clipboard sign, you will find the embalming part of the job rather simple, but what makes it difficult is the demons messing with Rebecca's head. Other than the moments actually in the mortuary, there will be some unique instances in the office. You'll come across some varying puzzle-like tasks to solve that will definitely help maintain a growing interest in learning the truth for yourself. A tip from the wise, the fears that lurk around you aren't at bay just because you aren't working on the bodies at that time, so be sure to stay observant and steel yourself. Additionally, each playthrough will bring you closer to learning about Rebecca's past and give some insight into the history of the mortuary.
You should have died when you had the chance.
Critiques. Let's cut to the chase and talk shop. It's why we're here anyway. The mortuary assistant's knack in making you be more attentive to detail, as you could get one of the 7 different possible endings from your choices, is one of its appealing points.
Are you sure this is the right one?
Players must be observant of the minor scares as well as the major ones in order to banish the correct demon, and if not, the consequences can be disastrous. Take it from me, I know.
Raymond?
Ah no! I picked the wrong body again! The scares during each shift in the morgue change, but none of them feel forced to cheat. You look out the window at the wrong time and you'll see some thing or someone staring at you. If you get caught up in your tasks and then turn around to look up, there's something looking at you. You turn to grab an item you need and catch a shadow standing in a hallway, and it won't go away until you approach it. In my opinion, these are much more natural than the styles used to create jump scares, and using this style is much more effective. In addition, the weather creates a foreboding atmosphere. The layout and exploration of the morgue will also keep players on their toes. From the hallways connecting the lobby to the embalming room, and the embalming room to the body storage and incinerator, makes it so players feel like there's something lurking behind it. And if you're fortunate enough, there won't be anything. Which then comes to my next point. The music choice in this game. The developers did a great job keeping it mostly empty or really light during the parts where they want the player to have their guard down, and then bringing in proper tones for moments they wanted to make sure players didn't miss. Damn it. Okay, it's 5. Possibly because when there is a chance to scare the players, most games will put a sound there to make sure it's noticed. Pairing this with the suitable sound effects to build up the environment's mood and theme, in my opinion, was well done. If there are major complaints, I guess it's probably the character designs. Aesthetically, the environment was pretty nice, really decent, but if you are going to have players up close to something for a large chunk of the game, I would like to have a bit better quality in the aesthetics of the models. Not that I did not appreciate it, it's just, well, models. While I enjoy most horror experiences, it is nice to get an experience that genuinely felt designed to surprise the player, and it doesn't feel forced. I would recommend to anybody looking for a good horror game, and if you have what it takes to brave the morgue and expel some demons by solving logic puzzles, the Mortuary Assistant is the game for you. Now, before I give a rating as to how many bones in terms of scare level, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. Comment what you thought of the game, or what other reviews would you like to hear from me down below. Thank you, and lastly, I give it a 4.5 bones. Don't like it? Fight me.